Alright. So now I know there's plenty of people like them out there that think that arresting that fucking judge today, or this morning, for what they suspect was her trying to help an undocumented person that came to her court get away. Look, anybody who supports these motherfuckers locking up judges because of their fucking opinion, y'all are fucking idiots. That's the only way to put it. You're absolute idiots. You have no fuck. Please don't have children. And if you do, give them to somebody else that has a fucking mind. Don't raise them. You'd be doing the kids a disservice. You absolutely know nothing about the Constitution. You absolutely know nothing about fucking humanity. You know absolutely nothing about the American history. Not black history, the fucking American history. How fucking rotten people who look like you are. Because it takes rotten fucking people to even think that you're gonna have some kind of fucking power over somebody. I mean, you can believe in the myth that because your skin is pale, that you have, you know what your manifest destiny would be? Fertilizer. Fucking fertilizer. Because you are crazy as fuck. If you think people are gonna revert back what do they call this shit? They got a psychological term for this. What is it called? I don't remember what it's called. Maybe it'll pop into my head while I'm thinking about it. Extermination explosion. I think that was it. I think that's it. But anyway, that's what y'all going through. That's what y'all going through. That white supremacy gig, that Zionist shit is over with. That shit's over with. It's over with, dude. Look, everybody on it isn't as stupid as you. Everybody isn't as insecure and fearful as you. You know, you'd advance more if you'd learn more. If you'd pay attention in class, you would know that things get done a whole lot easier when you cooperate. When you're the dumbest one in the class and you're the one trying to lead the class, it just makes the whole damn class dumber. And seeing as you proud folks have chosen the dumbest one in the class to be your leader, there you go. Now, I mean, I ain't calling you dumb, but your leader is. So, if you look up to him, how they say, oh, bless your heart. See, that's why we can't have, that's why we can't have nothing nice. Because you little spoiled fuckers don't respect nothing. Let's go. Hey. Hey. But the saddest part about it is that you're supposed to be adults. Now, I grew up in the country and, African American studies wasn't one of the curriculums in the school that I went to. But, so I'm behind. I don't know everything, but I damn sure know a lot. I walked on the grounds where the shoulders that I stand on quite a few years back. I know where the cemeteries are. So, what I do know is in my bones. I was raised around the same ones that shared the same property as those that were in that ground. And I can promise you that every step I took, a piece of them came into me. I can promise you that. Because I put myself in some pretty crazy situations as an adult, growing up, finding my role. Because I had to pay back. But I had to be able to look them in their face and just barehanded. You know what I mean? Up close, personal. I didn't want them dead. I just wanted them to wish they were. You know what I mean? Because as soon as they'd see me, well, they'd come. I didn't have to ask them. And that's your problem. Right there. Your desire to prove that you can scare somebody when that goes out the window, you try to follow it. But then you're in that fuck around and find out moment. So, when you get in that fuck around and find out moment, you don't get to decide when it stops. You know what I mean? So, you have to remember who you offended, how badly they were offended, and how much do you think the debt is going to be? Can you afford it? Because I can promise you Every step I took across those properties, there's so many more. There's so many more. You gotta pay that debt. You gotta pay that debt. You know, like if you was gonna, if I owed you some money for rent or something, you come put me off the property. Well, that's what we're fixing to do. We're gonna put y'all off the property. You be no more your stupid ass decision making going on in our yards across this country. We're not gonna have it. You lied, you stole, and you cheated to get the property to begin with. Then you oppressed and lied and cheated to keep it. And you know the worst part about it is, not only during the oppression, throughout the oppression, you lied to your own people. You hid the truth from your own people. So now here they are, finding out about the lies you told. The lies you passed down from generations. The lies that have been passed down to you for generations. How can you not know about the massacres of freed slaves? How could you not know that in your country, your people, your race, unalived people who look like me for sport? How could you not know that there were maps, particularly for people who look like me, to navigate their way across this country? How could you not know that they used to pull kids out of school so they could go watch the swinging? How could you not know they would get in their Sunday's best and get their pictures taken right there for the newspaper? How could you not realize that if you've got a farm that's been in your family for 150, 200 years, that most likely people who look like me were disadvantaged and made to work on those said farms for no money? How could you not know that your grandpa used to put something over the top of his head and run around and take advantage of people who look like me's mothers and daughters, sisters? How could you not know that all these atrocities were committed by your family on my family? But you think that we should listen to you about how to run a country? You think that you know better what it takes to survive building a nation? How could you know? How to build a nation? How could you know how much work it takes? How could you know how many lives have to be ruined? How could you know the pain that existed throughout the building of this nation? How could you know? What it takes to be an American? How could you know? Think about that. While we watch your leader try to revert back to the same old thing. Those days are over. That cycle has ran its course. The lies are being exposed. Some of y'all are seeing it. Damn shame how many of you ain't. Really unbelievable. But in the same token, maybe not so much. Because how could you know that you was being lied to? How could you know that the movies weren't real? How could you know that they was gonna do all the things that they're doing in this country right now? See, that's the arrogance of the lie. It is so deeply ingrained in you that the separations between the races was because of our inferiority. Well, if that was the case, why would we be a threat? I'm not afraid of a rabbit. I'm not afraid of a big dog. I'll pack a big dog. But see, that's never been in your history. There's never been a time in history that people who look like me just went out and randomly attacked to take over something from people who look like you. Quite the opposite. But you still walk around in the fear that that's what we're going to do. That's what's going to happen. That fear is the guilt for what your family did to my family. See, the transfer of wealth has been going on since the building of this country began. People who look like me were the original commodities on Wall Street. We were the first. My family. All your big banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, other big banks, we were collateral. We were their collateral. They had insurance on us. They go work us to death and then go collect the insurance money. Your family, those banks. That's what you used to do to my family. But how could you know that the financial system was built off the backs of people who look like me? How could you know that we were the original commodity, the most important product in this country? People who look like me. The most important. Without people who look like me, how could you know? What it means to be an American? How could you know? The lies you've been told. How could you know all your heroes were zeros? See, it's American history, not black history. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it's the proof of the black superiority, the black power, the black resilience, the black strength, the black tolerance. Black benevolence. How could you know? How could you know that you was always trying to silence the teacher? How would you know? Because it was ingrained in you from your first day of kindergarten, your program. How could you know that they was teaching you to be a peasant? How could you know that they were teaching you to be mediocre? How could you know that they were teaching you to be their pawn, their cogs for their machine? How could you know that you were just something that was being put in the shelf for later use? How could you know that power only looks for power? How could you know that you was being groomed to be food for the machine? Why would you know that your father was not what he pretended to be? How would you know that your mother is just the same? How would you know that you were just being bred to be a breeder. How would you know that you were just going to be used? How would you know that this country ain't built like you thought it was? How could you know that your family was as weak as they are? That's the legacy of the white American. And I use that word American very, very loosely, because really it's the white immigrant. See, your people chose to be here, and many of them chose to be here to abuse my family. So forgive us while we sit down and see what kind of resilience comes out of the privileged few. They should sort themselves out on who's American and who ain't. You have to care about your fellow citizens to be an American. You have to desire for your fellow citizens' belly to be just as full as yours to be an American. You have to be the first one to run over to help lift something to be an American. See, to prejudge, to put expectations on somebody that you do not know can only lead to disappointment. If I expect you to be what I want you to be, you're going to fail every time, and vice versa. I'll show you what I know, you show me what you know, and we'll build something. That's an American. So for all you immigrants, that can't pass the test of being an American, I hear they got places in El Salvador. Just a little quiet elevation. Let's elevate.